Do cows live in the desert? No. Does anybody here like to eat beef? And drink milk? Those come from cows, but you can't raise a lot of cows in the desert. Alright. So, I'm glad you know what a desert is and what a desert is like, because that's where our Bible story is going to come from today, what I'm going to start to teach you about. Do you remember what the name of God's people is? They were the Israelites. Now, before they went to the Promised Land, before God took them to the Promised Land, they were slaves. Do you remember what country they were slaves in? Where were the Israelites slaves for 300 years? Egypt. Good job. Now, who was the leader? God gave them a leader that took them out of Egypt. Moses. That's great. You guys know so much. Alright. So this story is after the Israelites have left Egypt. God brought them out of Egypt in a time called the Exodus. And they have a leader named Moses that God gave to them. And Moses is taking them to a place called the Promised Land. But before they can go to the Promised Land, they gotta be in the desert. And they end up being in the desert for a long time. Alright. Is there a lot of food in the desert? No. But the Israelites were in the desert, and they had more than 1 million people. That's a very big number of people. So there they were in the desert, all those millions of people, and they ate up all the food that they had brought with them from Egypt. And there's no food in the desert. Okay, does anybody remember from stories you've heard before or Bible reading you've done before? What did God do for them in the desert so that they could eat food? He gave them food. Do you remember what kind of food he gave them? Did he give them cows? Did he give them bulgogi? Did he give them rice? No? What? Do you remember what it's called? Manna. Okay, I don't know how you would say it in Korean. In English, it's manna. Alright, so this picture shows how the manna would come. It said every day the ground would be covered with these little flakes of stuff. And the Israelites would gather up the little flakes and they would eat it. It was like bread. Alright? Now, we know that the deserts are very dry. So the Israelites, this huge group of people, were out in the desert, and God gave them food, but there was no water. 2 different times, God gave them water from an unexpected place, a place they didn't know you could get water. Does anybody know where the water came from those 2 times God did it? Yeah, out of a rock. And if you look at this picture, I know it's small, I'm sorry. If you look at this picture, there's some rocks, and there's water coming out of it. So, God gave his people food where there was no food. And God gave his people water where there was no water. God gave his people the things that they needed in order to live when they shouldn't have been able to live. Okay. Now, God said that wasn't enough for his people. His people had food, they had water, but they needed something more. God knew that his people needed a way for them to have good hearts. He wanted his people to live a certain way. So he took them to a mountain, and he gave them a way. So, listen to the story. Here, I'll get the microphone for this part. Alright. So God called Moses. Remember, Moses was the leader of God's people? God called Moses up at the mountain, and the great mountain shook. A thick cloud fell, and thunder roared, lightning crackled. And God gave Moses 10 rules called the 10 Commandments. Good job. You guys know so much. I want you to love me more than anything else in the world. And know that I love you too, God told them. That's the most important thing of all. God gave them other rules, like don't make yourselves pretend gods called idols. Don't kill people. Don't steal. Don't lie. The rules showed God's people how to live and how to be close to Him and how to be happy. Hey, would the world be better if there was no killing? Yeah. Would the world be better if no one ever stole? Yeah, stealing is taking things that don't belong to you. If no one ever did that, our world would be a better place. The world would be a better place if nobody ever told lies. That's what God wanted His people to do. He wanted His people to follow Him and treat each other with love. These rules showed how life worked best. God promises to always look after you, Moses said. Will you love Him and keep these rules? We can do it. Yes, we promise. That's what happened in the Bible. The Israelites came to the mountain and God gave Moses the 10 rules, the 10 commandments, and He told it to him. And He said, will you follow them? And the people of Israel all said, yes, we will. But did they? No. Do you guys always follow all the rules? Always? Hey,